Hello everyone and welcome back to another design talk. This time I'll be talking about Hearthstone while my last match from my Paladin Arena run of the weekend is running in the background. I hope you enjoyed the match. I made a couple of mistakes and highlighted a few for your convenience, cause this game is all about learning how to play again. Now let's start with the basic mechanic that makes Hearthstone a good card game, one that I believe every card game should have at least in some shape or form, which is a gradually increasing amount of strong cards. Now with this I'm talking about the mana crystals that Hearthstone is using. Every turn you get one, every turn you can play a little bit more expensive card. This prevents players from dropping that hard nuking legendary turn 1. Imagine playing a Deathwing in turn 1, it's incredible. Some most successful card games have a way of that. Magic the Gathering has a land base that you drop in every turn with a max of 1 per turn. Except if another card tells you you can play more than 1 in a turn. But in essence, it's a great way of preventing the hard-hitting cards from hitting the board way too early and therefore ruining the game for your opponent. Just because you drew the best card in the game doesn't mean you get to win just now, okay? Now, there are card games out there that are successful without a form of this mechanic, or with a weaker form of this mechanic. Let's see, imagine Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. The form that this one takes to prevent you from playing your hardest hitting card turn 1 is that you have to sacrifice creatures from the field in order to summon stronger creatures. Now this is negated by effects of creatures that can come in different ways, such as fusion cards. If I use my polymerization and fuse my free Blue Eyes White Dragon, I have a creature with 4,500 attack on the field turn 1, just because I got lucky on my card draw. But anyway, Hearthstone seems fair with its mana crystals, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Now the second thing that makes Hearthstone really popular is the amount of player base. Now what a card game really needs is people that play the card game. This is why the World of Warcraft trading card game, which was the initial version of Hearthstone, which was with real life playing cards, actually crashed. They got a player base at start, so it seemed like everything was good, but a couple months later people went back to Magic the Gathering, which seems to have a monopoly on strong trading card games out there at the moment. And the player base just left the World of Warcraft trading card game to die. During that time I managed to buy a couple of starter decks for €1, which is insane value. But nobody around me was playing it anymore. Nobody wanted to trade cards with me. So I stopped playing as well. And now Hearthstone's out there. It's free to play. And it brings a lot of players from World of Warcraft with it that just love World of Warcraft lore and everything to do with World of Warcraft. So you actually have people to play against. And most importantly, players have people to share their stories with. If I tell you that I managed to get a Deathwing out there through a Sneed's old, what's it called? Sneed's old, blah 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 blah. Well, a legendary creature that when it dies it brings in another legendary, and then it brought in a freaking Deathwing. That's great. I get a free 15 creatures pretty much. It's awesome. Those are amazing stories that happen while people are playing your game, and they want to share that story with other people. And making it free to play is a great way to have people to share your stories with. It's just amazing. Now to talk about that free to play model, here is basically how it works. It has these in-app purchases, and it's the age-old story of, do I want to spend my time in this game or do I want to spend my money to save my time in this game? It's fairly balanced. Either way is fine. If you want to spend money to save time, that's a great philosophy. If you want to spend time to save money, that's also a great philosophy. It's fine. In theory, you can you can unlock everything in this game by just playing it without spending a single euro. But the way the free-to-play model works is by wearing you down. The more time you play this game, the more inclined you'll be to spend money on it, to buy the packs, to unlock the layers in Naxxramas or soon to be Blackrock Mountain. Look at League of Legends for example with skins. The moment people start to play the game they might think, well, it's free to play, it's amazing, I'll never have to buy a single thing ever. And then amazing skins come out and you're like, it seems alright. And then another amazing skins come out and you're like, well, I've sunk like 700 hours in my life so far, I might as well invest $10, you know? And eventually you'll end up with a skin for every champion in the game. In Hearthstone, you'll end up with every card in the card pool, every legendary in the card pool. It's how it's supposed to be in the end. Now let's move on to a little bit of gameplay stratagems. Now the main thing that I want to explain are the two theories of value and tempo. Every decision I try to make in the game is a balance of these two issues. Is it good value or is it good tempo? Now, to explain value, you have to look at the amount of cards you have in your hand versus the amount of cards your opponent has in their hands and on the field. You want to be trading the cards you have on the field and in your hand for more cards that your opponent has on the field or in your hand. Flame Strike is very good for this. Hellfire tends to be very good for this every now and then. Something with a huge amount of defense and a bit of an attack managed to sink a couple cards in there as well. Those are all great value cards. The result of value plays is that your opponent doesn't have anything on the field or on the board in his hand, and he's reliant on the top card of his deck every single turn, while you have a couple of creatures left and maybe a couple cards in your hand left, and you just have options to put on the pressure. Alright, and the second theory is tempo. You want to be dealing out more things, dealing out more damage, and putting out more things on the board than your opponent can deal with. You want to be so fast and so efficient with the mana that you spend that your opponent has to start making bad value plays. Eventually you'll start dropping that 7/7 and your opponent is already so low on health that he has to sink 3 creatures in to destroy it in order to live another turn. And that way the value that your opponent has earlier in the game gets diminished later in the game while you have a higher health total. Meaning that you can more easily win the game, or just rush him down before he can put up his defenses. That's also a great tempo play. The one thing that I don't like about Hearthstone is that it's really hard to get a comeback from these type of tempo plays. Once you've established some kind of aggression on your opponent and it's you can really know how to maintain it, then it's really hard to come back from this, and only a Flame Strike or something can save you. That's all I want to talk about for Hearthstone for today. For now, I want to wish you all a great day, and I hope you all manage to play some video games. And thank you for watching.
Oh, good job. Feel free to try another run in the arena if you've saved enough gold.